Hi, this is Professor Mary, and we're going to go over homework number 4, which is called Sun and Moon on a Path. And so far we've been doing everything that's going in a straight line. So this time we're going to actually create a path, an arced path in which the objects can travel. So you'll notice I've already opened up homework number 4. And I'm going to come down to layer number 1, and I'm going to call it sky. Now in the first frame of the sky layer, I'm going to go to my library, and I'm going to drag over the object called sky. And it's just really just a basic blue graphic. And just for good measure, I'm going to vertically and horizontally align it. Now we want the sky to appear all the way out to frame 192. So I'm going to come out to 192, which is about 8 seconds. I'm going to right click, insert a keyframe, and now the sky is going to stay on the screen for the entire 8 seconds. I'm going to lock that layer just to make sure that it's I don't mess with it. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call it Cloud Bank. So I'm going to go back over to frame number 1 of the Cloud Bank layer, and on the library there's a whole there's a graphic called Cloud Bank. So we're going to put this down here at the bottom, and it's larger, intentionally larger than need be. I can vertically or horizontally center it, but I can't vertically center it because it would go in the middle of the screen. That's not what I want. I'm going to zoom out for just a second, and you're going to see how I want this to look. So the clouds are kind of at the bottom, and you can move it up a little bit if you want, however you want to do that. Now again, the clouds are going to stay on the screen for the entire animation. So we're going to go out to frame 92, click on that keyframe, or click on that frame and insert a keyframe. I'm also going to lock this layer so that it stays persistent. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another new layer, and I'm going to call this one Path. And this is where we're going to draw the path where it's going to, the sun and the moon are going to kind of move. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our brush tool, and what we're going to try to do as best that we can is we're going to create a brush, and we're going to have it where I went to the properties and I'm on the brush tool. So I want the brush to be black. So where it says stroke, I'm going to make it black. So to make the stroke black, making the path part 2. All right, so the next thing we need to do after we make the path layer is in frame 1, we're going to use the brush tool to make a path for the sun and the moon to move on. Now let's go over to our properties. And again, your properties are going to change based on what you have selected. So I'm going to get my brush tool, and I want this fill to be black. And if it's not, you can click on it and choose a black stroke. Now, the important thing to making a path is to keep it going in one continuous motion. You don't want to stop and then try to reconnect it, because what will happen, there will be empty pixels and it just won't work. So I'm going to start kind of down here at the bottom left-hand side of the stage, and I'm just going to draw one arc. Now, if you don't do it, if you don't like it, you can always go to Edit and say Undo, and then try again. So I'm just going to do a nice arc. You don't have to worry. I don't really like that one, so I'm going to undo that one. So I'm just going to try again. All right, there it is. That's a nice path. for me to do. Now, the key, really, I have to say this again, the key for doing something on a path is to have one continuous line. If there's any little breaks in this line, it will not follow the path. All right, so we're going to then take this path and we're going to put it out to 192, put a keyframe in there, and that's great. Now, while I'm working on this, I am going to now go and save this. So I'm going to go to File and do a Save As. I'll give it my name, CGA 118, Homework 4. So it's saved as we go through. Now, currently, if we look at our layers, these are all what we call normal layers. And what we need to do is we need to make this layer, which we name Path, from a normal layer. We need to change it from a normal layer to what's called a guide layer. Now you can tell a normal layer because it has this little piece of paper with the corner turned up. So what we're going to do is we're going to point at the little piece of paper and we're going to double click. And that's going to bring up the layer's properties. And in that, here's the name, here's the visibility. Currently we have it visible. And right now it says normal. Now what we want to do is make this a guide layer. So we're going to check right here where it says guide and we're going to hit OK. Now when that happens, you're going to notice that this path icon no longer looks like a little piece of paper. It looks like almost like a T-square. So that's now been told it's a guide path. It's a guide layer. All right, so now I'm going to make another new layer and I'm going to call this one Sun. Now, the path is the guide path and the sun is going to be guided by the path. So in order to do that, we need to make the sun layer a guided layer. Now the way that we do that is we take the sun and we drag it underneath the path layer and let go. Now you know that you did this right because the path now has this little dotted line and the sun is indented underneath the path. Now that the sun layer is indented underneath the path layer, the sun layer is called a guided path, or excuse me, a guided layer, and the path is a guide layer. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to make another new layer, and this one is going to be called Moon. And again, we need the moon to be guided by the path layer. So we're going to take the moon, we're going to drag it underneath the path and indent it underneath the path layer and let go. So now the sun and the moon are both guided layer and it's going to be guided by the path. Now as long as these two layers, the sun and the moon, are indented underneath the path layer, we're good. Now, one of the things that we're going to do is I'm just going to turn off the visibility of the cloud layer, of the cloud bank layer. So I'm just going to turn the eyeball off of that so it disappears. Now it's not gone, it's still there. It's just, we just need to, not see it for a little bit. All right, so now we're going to click on the sun layer. So I'm going to click on the first frame of the sun layer and it's got an empty keyframe in it. And I'm going to go to the library and I'm going to get the sun. So here's the sun graphic. I'm going to grab it and drag it onto the stage. Now, in order for us to get the sun to follow the path, see this little circle inside the sun? That circle has got to go onto this line. So when I drag it over, it will snap onto that line. Now, if you just try to put it on like that, it's not there. You have to actually get that circle onto the line. Now, when we do this, it kind of snaps in place, snaps onto that line. All right, so what we want to do is from frame 1, to frame 96, we want the sun to rise and then set. So out at frame 96 of our sun layer, we're going to right click and insert a keyframe. Now I'm going to drag the sun over here, and again it's going to be snapping to that line. We want to make sure it's on that line. Now I'm going to click on the sun first keyframe in frame number 1, and I'm going to insert a classic tween. Now if we scrib over the timeline, the moon follows the path. Or excuse me, the sun follows the path. All right, so after the sun goes up and over, then we're going to have the moon come in. So we're going to go to frame 97 of the moon layer, right click, insert a keyframe. And at this point, we're also going to click on the sun layer, and we're going to right click and we're going to insert a blank keyframe. That way the sun goes away. Now in the moon layer at frame 96 or 97, I can't remember really what we're on. Like, it looks like we're on 98, which is fine. We're going to grab the moon and we're going to put it again down here, and we're going to attach it to this guide. And again, when you know you get there because it snaps to the line. So now I'm going to go out to frame 192 of the moon layer, insert a keyframe. I'm going to move the moon over here. And then in frame 98, 97, 98, we're going to right click and we're going to insert the classic tween. And again, it should follow the path. Now we're going to go ahead and turn on the cloud layer. Go all the way back. Now we do have a little problem here because when we play this, the sun comes up in front of the clouds, and then the moon also comes up in front of the clouds. So what we're going to do, I'm going to stop this animation real quick. Just going to place this here and get that to work right. There we go. All right, so in order to get the clouds to be above the moon and the sun, I'm going to grab this layer. I'm not going to indent it into the path. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it above this layer. So now when I play this, the moon and the sun are going to go, or it's going to rise behind the clouds. All right, so that's looking really good. All right, so I'm going to save this file again. Now, when we go to Control and we say Test Movie, or we say Test, either or, you're going to notice that the path is not actually going to be on the stage when it plays. The path becomes an invisible layer when we start to play this in the test mode. So here comes the sun, and then here comes the moon. All right. So just note that when you make the path and you draw this line and it becomes a path layer or a guide layer, anything that's on this guide layer will not appear. It will become invisible. All right, so I'm going to, wait, there's one more challenge. Let's see. Can you make the sun and the moon go behind a single cloud positioned on the stage? I don't know, can you? So once we've saved this work, go ahead and submit it into homework number 4 up on eLearning. And if you have any questions or having problems with this, come to see me during office hours or before class.